Welcome to Toastmaster Time, the show that has everyone talking. My name is Ashley Harkness, and I will be your host for this edition of Toastmaster Time Television. Just like in Toastmastering, we will have prepared speeches and an evaluation of them for the speakers to get feedback and also to improve their speaking skills. For that, we have our very own speech evaluator, Deborah Weiner. Deborah, tell us a little bit more about the show.
This evening we have two exciting speakers who will both be using the word advocate, but in very different ways.
Well, thank you very much, Deborah. Sounds exciting. I think we're going to have a very special show. We'll be talking later to you in the show as we go on. Our first speaker, welcome, Kari Kelly. Kari, thank you for coming to Toastmaster Time.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I know, it's exciting, isn't it, being on television? I love it. Well, tell me, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
Since 2015.
2015, a good long time.
Yes.
A lot of experience there.
Yes.
What club do you belong to?
Leaders Worldwide.
Leaders Worldwide.
Yes.
It sounds like an international organization.
It is. Right. Oh, it's amazing.
And what made you get involved in Toastmasters?
I like to talk, and it's a way for me to get the message that I need to share out.
A wonderful thing you can there. How has it helped you in your work outside of Toastmasters?
Leadership qualities, helping me make choices and stand in what I believe in is true.
Ah, excellent. Well, Kari, are you ready to do your speech?
Yes, I am.
Well, just a minute here. We're going to get you to move in a second.
Okay.
And stay there. We'll give you time to move. And while we're doing that, I'll explain to our viewers a little bit about the speeches. A prepared speech is something that we learn to do in Toastmasters so that we can harness our skills and make the presentations better. To help us with that, we have an evaluator. And our evaluator tonight, Debbie Weiner. Deborah, how is it? How are you doing with the evaluation? Tell us what you're going to be looking for.
I'm going to be looking for Kari, who will be connecting with the audience with her story.
Ah, okay. And in connecting, that's a specific thing? Is there a guide for that Toastmasters gives us?
There are certain protocols to take, and Kari has studied and prepared for this speech, and I can't wait to hear it.
Well, neither can I. And let's move on to that. So, our first speaker, Kari Kelly. Kari Kelly, from trash to treasure. Kari Kelly, from trash to treasure.
If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody they're traveling wrong. You have heard the saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Well, I have a slightly different take on that. What I thought was trash turned out to be a real treasure, and a treasure beyond measure. It was Father's Day 1987 when I decided my life was no better than the trash. If I take you to the beginnings of my life, we have my birth mother who gave me up for adoption when I was only 3 days old. I stayed in foster care until I was about 9 months old, and then I was in the process of being adopted by a woman who ended up shaking me, and while she was shaking me, she bashed my head into a wall so hard that fluid built up on my brain, and I didn't get medical attention for 10 whole days. I went back into foster care, but at this point I had lost some of my eyesight as a result of this injury. So I have enough eyesight to get in trouble, but not enough to get a driver's license. And I have seen the way some of you people with normal eyesight drive, and I could drive just as bad. And I have the worst road rage. Oh my God, you should see me cussing folks out from the passenger seat. I went back into foster care and I was adopted again at 4 years old. This new family gave me ideas about myself, that I was this ugly, stupid, half-blind child that was good for nothing. And I believed that. So by the time Father's Day 1987 came, I was so full of these messages that I thought my life was no longer worth living. So I went into the hospital over an attempt to take my life, and I stayed there for 72 hours. I was in the Stanford University Hospital psych ward with children, juveniles that were actually fighting for their lives. They were terminally ill. And while I was busy trying to throw my life away, they were busy fighting for theirs. And that's where I learned that my life was not the garbage. My life was not the trash. I left that hospital and I made some changes to my life. Now I can say I have a beautiful life. I have a beautiful family that loves me, and believe me, I am a grandma. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren. Don't I look good for being a grandma? Anyway, once I left the hospital and I made changes to my life, I have a beautiful life now. But I want to encourage people to speak up if they know a child is in harm's way, so that the child abuse can end. So my story shall not be in vain.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Deborah, what did you think about her speech?
Kari's heart-wrenching story of child abuse provoked feelings of compassion and an awareness that when a child speaks about what's happening to them, that we must listen and believe them and be their advocate and be there to help and support them. And her story made me aware that people are really not aware of what's going on with children in many situations. And so we all need to be more aware of what's going on, especially in the foster care system.
Yes, in the foster care system. There are certain problems with that. How about the fact that she started with a song and ended with a song? How does that appear to you?
That was beautiful. It tied it all together because her goal was to connect with the audience through storytelling, and that tied it all together.
I like that she had a couple of jokes in there too, to kind of break the tension.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much for your evaluation. And now it's time for us to take a break. We're going to have a public service announcement, and then we'll be right back.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that had everybody talking. I'm here with our next speaker, Lynn Fraley. Lynn, what Toastmaster Club are you a part of?
I'm a member of Leaders Worldwide.
Leaders Worldwide. And how long have you been a Toastmaster?
I've been a Toastmaster for decades.
Decades?
Decades.
Decades. Okay, all right. Okay, how did you come to Toastmastering?
I wanted to do speaking because I had a mission around healthcare, so I joined the National Speakers Association, and I was advised to also join Toastmasters for skill building.
That's great. Has it worked out for you?
Very well, thank you.
Well, that's really great. I appreciate you coming here and giving your speech. I'm going to give you a minute to get settled while I talk to the audience and tell them about your speech. The speeches that are given by our Toastmasters are all evaluated. The purpose of an evaluation is to help them to improve on their speaking and also to follow the directions of a particular project. We use what's called pathways in Toastmasters, and to help us with understanding that, let's talk to our evaluator, Deborah Weiner. Deborah, tell us a little bit about the speech that Lynn is going to give us.
Lynn is doing a speech from Visionary Communication, which is focused on using descriptive language to pique the interest of her audience about the healthcare system.
Does she have a set of goals that she's going to be looking for?
Yes, she's putting emphasis on using descriptive language to pique or increase the interest and the impact that her speech will be giving.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll be talking to you later after we've heard the speech, but it's time for our speaker, Lynn Fraley. Lynn Fraley. Lynn, you're going to be talking to us about healthcare advocacy, and it's 3 steps to being your own best healthcare advocate. 3 steps to being your own best healthcare advocate. Lynn Fraley.
The third leading cause of death in the United States is medical care. Does that make you want to be a little bit more cautious in how you approach your own and that of your loved ones? I've been a nurse for more than 35 years. I've seen a lot. It wasn't easy getting to nursing. I had to repeat my chemistry courses 3 times, 3 full semesters to repeat to get where I wanted to go. And I didn't want to be a chemist. And I learned a lot in a lot of different areas working clinically, but I also involved my own family in my learning. My father died early of, I would call it polydrug abuse. He'd been taking so many medications that I think it really poisoned him in a sense. And my mother died at the age of 59. She was a woman ahead of her time, but she was ready to die. She was tired and overworked in her own mind, and I think felt complete. But after she died, I was always told to think that I was at risk for heart disease. And I thought, we lived very different lives. So I see healthcare from a lot of different perspectives. And there are 3 solutions that I want to suggest to you so that you can be your own best healthcare advocate and you can live well and full. The first has to do with having clarity. You have to know how the drugs work and what the procedures are, and also what will happen as a result of the procedures. Women over 40, and pretty much every woman over 50 in the United States at least, are mandated to do, what do we call it? The exam that they should get every single year? Yes, that's true. It's mammograms. So we're using radiation as a part of a procedure to look for something that's caused by radiation, which doesn't make sense to me. And pressure. Imagine a 10-pound bag of beans. Imagine 5 10-pound bags of beans, and think of that as the pressure that goes on the breast so it can flatten so they can get a better image of it. Except for the fact that about 40% of women have dense breasts, and they're called back for repeat mammograms with just more radiation and more pressure, which can cause damage. Be real clear about what it is that you're going to be getting and know that there are always options. Thermography is an option for mammograms. No contact, heat seeking, no radiation, and it can show circulation that predicts a tumor, and it can show something that could be a tumor that might be years later in developing, which gives a woman time to do whatever she needs to do. The second point has to do with having courage. It takes a lot of courage to say no to a provider. I don't want a biopsy. I don't want to have this particular procedure done because it doesn't feel right to me. One of my clients has breast cancer. She's pretty sure she has it. And she's been given a lot of different options for care, medical care, and including mastectomy. And she went to a naturopath, a male naturopath, who said, I think you should have the mastectomy like everyone else is telling you to do. And we can do detoxification after. But it didn't sit well with her. She did not feel like that's what she wanted to do. And she exhibited a lot of courage to be able to say what she wanted for care. And she's seeking natural care, and she feels very confident that that's going to be what she will take her through and well past the finish line of that. The third issue has to do with having confidence. If there's a procedure that you want, ask for it. You may have to pay out of pocket. Just because insurance covers it doesn't mean that it's going to be the best care for you. A lot of companies have health savings accounts where people put in pre-tax dollars and they can have it spent on care that they want. And there are legitimate medical reasons for having different kinds of care. Women can get thermography, or they can have ultrasounds, or high definition ultrasound. So there are options. But it takes confidence to not let someone else's fear interfere with your process. It requires clarity about what's going on, being an adult with it. It requires courage, which comes from the word heart. Cœur is heart in French. So having courage to do what it is that you want for your care, and then having confidence that you're making the best decision for yourself. Who knows yourself better than you? Using these three solutions, you are assured of having better health care because you are your own best doctor, and it is up to you to support your healing process in the way that you feel will nourish you the best.
So, Deborah, what did you think of her speech?
Well, Lynn definitely met her goal of using descriptive language to pique our interest and create an impact. And it was very informational. Everything she said is, all the tips and the examples that she talked about created an awareness about how we should be our own advocates and not just take what doctors say as the only options we have.
Do you think that in being your own advocate that you have to do self-education to learn about what's happening to you and what the options are?
Yes, we all must be educated. We need to seek out information, do our own research, and get different opinions. Don't just listen to one person and one doctor. And having that healthcare savings account that she mentioned is valuable information because most of us don't even know what that is, but it's an account that we put money into to use for our own health care in whatever way we desire, and because a lot of the procedures that the doctors tell us that we need, they are not covered by insurance.
It was interesting to me that she described in graphic detail what was happening with the mammogram. I'm afraid that's something I've never experienced. I can imagine that's really, really harsh for people. Do you think they tell people beforehand what they're to expect?
No, I can tell you from my own experience, they do not. And she was absolutely correct in talking about how it's a procedure that's supposed to help find problems, in women's breasts, but it's actually harming you while you're getting the procedure.
Harming you. She didn't mention that was the radiation that they were using to detect this, and that in fact that causes different problems of itself. I was thinking, I wondered what would happen in terms of what the options are for a person who's had this discovery. What do the doctors say that there's the best thing? The removal of the breast, or is there anything else that might work? Should we be thinking about that?
Absolutely. We should be thinking about the natural approaches, eating, becoming a vegan and just eating food that is medicine versus taking prescription drugs that actually, as Lynn pointed out, she thought maybe killed her own mother. So it was a very thought-provoking speech.
Yes, it very much was, and I think it's something to help us all, not only through Toastmaster skills of presenting the speech, but a message for all of us to understand what it is that we're coming to along with this. And I appreciate your evaluation here. That helped an awful lot. I want to thank you very much for that and for joining us with Toastmaster Time. Well, that is our show for Toastmaster Time for this particular series. I want to thank all of the people here in the audience and in the studio to help us. We make this television show in the San Francisco Bay Area. And if you would like more information about that show and how maybe even you could be a speaker here, okay, you can go to our website, which is toastmastertime.com. That's our website. Now, the program itself is sponsored by the Toastmasters District 57. And if you're looking for information on District 57, you can check out their website at d57tm.org. If you would like more information about Toastmasters itself in the largest sense of the international organization that it is, you could go to toastmasters.org and find out more about this organization. But beyond that, be open to the idea that maybe this could be an organization to help you. It certainly helped all of us in Toastmasters. We appreciate the wonderful staff at the Media Center here in Palo Alto who has helped us to make this production possible and to tape the show. Again, thanks to our guest speakers, to our guest evaluator, Deborah, and to all of the people in Toastmaster Time who have helped us to make this presentation for you. From all of Toastmaster Time staff and the organization, I'm Ashley Harkness, and we invite you to join Toastmasters and keep talking.